Your baby cannot speak yet. They cannot use precise vocabulary to tell you where they physically hurt, nor can they shout stop, when the sensory stimulation of their environment becomes entirely overwhelming. Yet, beneath the surface of their nonverbal world, a profoundly deep neurodevelopmental process is taking place every single second. There is a brutal, albeit entirely unintentional, reality we must face. Tens of millions of incredibly loving, deeply invested parents are routinely engaging in completely ordinary, culturally accepted behaviors that are quietly dysregulating their baby's nervous systems. This is not merely about whether your baby is happy today. It is fundamentally about the underlying architectural logic of their future personality and brain structure. Please read closely, because the truths we are about to explore are rooted in some of the most classic experiments in the history of psychology. These scientific facts will completely shatter many widely accepted parenting paradigms. This is absolutely not intended to manufacture guilt, but rather to spark a genuine awakening. ONA, the cost of delayed responses, and the strange situation we frequently hear the adage that babies are resilient. But resilience does not exist in a vacuum. It is entirely built upon the cornerstone of consistent, stable emotional support. This brings us to our first everyday misconception: intentionally delaying your response to a crying baby. Many sleep training methods will tell you that letting a child cry for a while fosters independence. However, developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth's famous strange situation experiment provided the answer decades ago. Researchers found that infants whose parents responded quickly and warmly to their cries during their first months actually cried less by the time they were 1 year old, and they explored unknown environments with greater independence and confidence. Why? Because when a baby cries in distress and no one answers, their body triggers a frantic spike in the stress hormone cortisol, which directly assaults the prefrontal cortex responsible for emotional regulation. A consistent response teaches the infant's brain a foundational logic. The world is safe. Delayed responses, on the other hand, engrave a deep-seated fear. 2. The hidden impact of a stressed tone of voice. The second highly overlooked behavior is the tone of voice you use when suppressing frustration. Imagine you are severely sleep-deprived, exhausted, and the baby cries again. You sigh, pick them up, and say, okay, I am right here. Laboratory physiological monitoring data reveals a startling fact. Even a 3-month-old infant is acutely sensitive to the rhythm and emotional texture of a voice. In studies monitoring the heart rates of sleeping infants, simply playing audio of adults having a tense argument caused the baby's heart rates and cortisol levels to spike instantly, even while they were fast asleep. When you speak with a tight, dysregulated tone, your baby cannot process your comforting vocabulary. They only absorb that suffocating tension. To their survival-driven brain, a dysregulated protector signifies imminent, fatal danger. Before you pick up your baby, giving yourself just one slow, deep breath is enough to completely alter the safety signals you project. 3. Forced social interaction and the violation of boundaries. This third behavior often wears the disguise of social courtesy, forcing an infant to socially interact. You hold your baby up to a loud, overly enthusiastic relative. Instinctively, your baby turns their head away, trying to bury their face in your shoulder. To avoid social awkwardness, you might gently force their face back, saying, "Don't be shy, say hello." In video analyses from infant observation labs, researchers call this behavior gaze aversion. Your baby is not being shy, their incredibly limited nervous system is desperately communicating. The stimulation is too intense, I am overloading, and I need to disconnect. When you repeatedly ignore this crystal-clear boundary to maintain adult social dignity, you are subconsciously teaching your child a devastating lesson. Your physical boundaries mean nothing, and you must suppress your own discomfort to comply with the outside world. Minimizing emotions and the absence of co-regulation. The fourth harsh reality involves invalidating an infant's emotions. When a baby becomes hysterical because they cannot reach a toy, parents often blurt out, "You are fine. There is nothing to cry about." Modern functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, shows us an irrefutable physiological fact: an infant's prefrontal cortex, the area needed to calm intense emotions, is incredibly immature. They possess absolutely zero physiological foundation for self-regulation. They must borrow your stable, mature nervous system as a ladder to achieve co-regulation. When you tell them you are fine, their internal alarms are still blaring, but they receive no psychological scaffolding. The genuine pain they feel is completely disconnected from the feedback of their ultimate authority figure. This chronic emotional mismatch is one of the strongest predictors of future anxiety disorders. You simply need to validate them. You look really angry right now because you can't reach that toy, right? Merely seeing and naming the emotion provides immense comfort. 5. The still face of the digital age. We must confront the reality of the digital age. What does your baby experience when you hold them while scrolling on your phone? Dr. Edward Tronick's world, renowned still face experiment, gives us the most visceral answer. In the experiment, a mother plays happily with her baby, then suddenly turns away and returns with a completely expressionless, emotionally dead face. Within just seconds, the previously happy infant displays extreme panic. They attempt to smile and wave to regain the mother's attention. When all efforts fail, the baby breaks down crying, exhibiting severe physiological stress responses like drooling and hiccuping. When you are absorbed in a screen, your face becomes that terrifying, still face. For a baby who relies absolutely on your facial feedback to confirm their very existence, a sudden vacuum of parental attention plants a profound fear of abandonment deep in their psyche. 6. The sensory tsunami of overstimulation. The sixth misconception is the sensory tsunami caused by overstimulation. Modern parents love to pack their baby's world with neon toys and deafening electronic learning machines. However, neuroscience indicates that a newborn's primitive nervous system can only process a microscopic fraction of sensory input. When an overloaded baby stiffens their body, averts their gaze, or gets a glassy-eyed stare, parents often mistake this for boredom and respond by rocking them harder or playing louder music. This is akin to pouring gasoline on a fire. What a sensory overloaded baby desperately craves is absolute dimness, profound silence, and complete physical stillness. They need you to subtract stimulation, not add to it. 7. Missing the magic of serve and return. The seventh point is missing out on serve and return interactions. Long-term research by the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University defines this interaction as the single most critical factor in early brain development. When your baby babbles or points a chubby finger at the ceiling, they are serving an interaction to you. If you follow their gaze and gently reply, "Oh, you see that light up there, don't you?" you execute a perfect return. Every single exchange like this builds neural connections in the cerebral cortex at an astonishing speed. Conversely, if a baby's signals constantly drop into an abyss of silence, the brain's highly utilitarian pruning mechanism activates, ruthlessly cutting away the neural pathways meant for exploring the world. 8. The depth charge of sneaking away. The eighth behavior is sneaking away, just to save trouble. To avoid the crying that comes with separation, many parents sneak out while the baby is distracted. Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget introduced the famous concept of object permanence to a young infant. Out of sight literally means out of existence. When you suddenly vanish to your baby's world, it is not a temporary absence. It is a life or death panic. Sneaking away never reduces separation anxiety. It manufactures chronic insecurity. The baby learns, the person I rely on the most can disappear without warning at any moment, so I must stay on high alert. Babies who are given a clear goodbye ritual, even if they cry heavily at the time, ultimately develop a far deeper sense of secure attachment than those who are habitually secretly abandoned. 9. Physical disconnection. Is physical touch truly optional? Psychologist Harlow's famous and tragic rhesus monkey experiment provided the definitive answer. Baby monkeys were given a choice between a cold wire mother that provided milk and a soft cloth mother that provided no food. The results shocked everyone. The infant monkeys spent the vast majority of their time clinging tightly to the cloth mother, only briefly visiting the wire mother when starving. This proved that the desperate need for warm physical contact supersedes even the need for food. It is a biological prerequisite for survival. When you casually stroke your baby's back or wear them against your chest to let them feel your heartbeat, Oxytocin floods both of your bodies, acting as the ultimate neurological tranquilizer. 10. Emotional unavailability, the final and most hidden point. Emotional unavailability. If a caregiver is physically present, changing diapers and feeding on schedule, but their inner soul is drifting in an abyss of depression, grief, or extreme burnout, can the baby tell? Long-term clinical observations yield a heartbreaking conclusion. Even if a mother perfectly executes every physical caretaking task, her baby will acutely detect that emotional void and exhibit disorganized stress responses. Bringing this up is absolutely not to heap guilt upon parents who are already barely surviving. It is to illuminate a vital truth. Your baby absorbs your baseline emotional undertone. Therefore, the greatest gift you can ever give your child is the repair of your own nervous system. When an exhausted parent pauses, takes a deep breath, and reclaims even a fraction of inner peace, the baby in their arms instantly feels that profound relief. After reading these 10 truths, if you feel a sting of vulnerability or remorse, please hold that feeling gently. Do not turn it into self-attacking guilt. The courage to look inward and reflect is, in itself, the deepest manifestation of parental love. Master psychologist Donald Winnicott offered a concept that can save every parent: the good enough parent. It means you will absolutely make mistakes. You will lose control due to exhaustion, and you will ignore your baby because you were looking at your phone. But none of that ruins everything, because the true essence of parenting lies in rupture and repair. What shapes your baby's future is not your occasional misstep, but the moment you walk back to them, hold them, and say, "I am so sorry I didn't do a good job just now, but I am right here, and you are safe." This continuous cycle of returning and repairing is the true foundation of an indestructible sense of security. The next time your baby looks up at you with completely defenseless eyes, please know that responding to them with the grace of a good enough parent is the greatest legacy you will ever leave them.